What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Thoughts with Nick. Today, I'm joined by the Bucket Gang,
Woo!
and we're going to be discussing whether or not there exists a system of government that is not only fair to the people and allows them the most possible freedoms, but also prevents itself from being exploited. As always, I'm going to get started with the quote, and today's quote comes from Thomas Paine, who was the author of a pamphlet called Common Sense, published during the American Revolution. That was his most famous work, but he also wrote other revolutionary writings, I guess you could call them. So, anyway, what he said was government, even in its best state, is but a necessary evil, in its worst state, an intolerable one. And during his time, when he was writing this, during the American Revolution, one of the main concerns and catalysts, I guess you could say, for the American people to rise up against the British government was they felt that they were being taxed without representation, which was true. They didn't have any representation within the British government, and yet they were being taxed on various different things that today we might think of as trivial, but nonetheless, it was quite important and of the highest priority to them because, like I said, their interests were not being advanced within the government. Today, I think one could make an argument that many of the interests of the American people aren't being advanced by our elected officials, and we're going to discuss if we can come up with any potential solutions or ways to get the political structure and the elected officials more in line with the true desires and interests of the citizens that they're supposed to be representing.
I think it's a good start. I feel like we could, we're in Pittsburgh right now. I feel like we could talk about Fetterman pretty easily, right? About how, do you know Fetterman?
Yeah.
How he got elected and then just did a full 180 and lost his marbles.
Man did have
just
a stroke.
he's like the opposite of like standing on business or standing your ground, dude. Like he just
standing on business. That man is.
Well, why do you think that is? Because this kind of like goes
people
back
try
to
to
what I was
blame
talking about before regarding like corruptibility and the offices themselves.
I think.
right?
You get a big guy like Fetterman. He's like, oh, this is what this is big. Looks like a guy from like you dragged out of a swamp or something like that. But he's like, oh, this is a blue collar guy, but he's also like a left leaning, like believes in all this such and such left cause. So you like as like. Generally speaking, like Democrats and liberals just latching on to that kind of idea. It's like, oh, this is a guy who's like big and strong, so he'll appeal to like the rural voters and stuff like that. But then they elected basically like a fox into the hen house because how do you know anybody's true intentions? There's not really as much disclosure behind who's backing who as there should be, and there's unlimited amount of stuff that anybody can pump into anything. So you get a guy like Fetterman that just pops up, does whatever the fuck he wants to, and whatever is pays are given him, I guess. As soon as he gets in the office, like what's the incentive to, or I guess how do we know when we're electing a guy that you can like actually trust?
You can almost have like industry plants, like, and it's kind of
100%.
It almost feels like he was a plant. Like, oh, let's just run this campaign, lie about literally everything, get into office and just sell your soul.
Undercover agent.
And they're like blaming like a stroke. I don't know enough about it.
Dude, before
but
like a year just before the election, he like chased like some black dude down the street with a shotgun because he was in his neighborhood. Yeah.
Was that known during like the election?
Yeah, but I think they were pretty hush hush about it. Like nobody really talked about it. I mean better than fucking Dr. Oz.
I want to sound like
the other party should have like seized onto that.
I don't want to conspire, but like,
Dr.
if you
Haas
put enough money into anything, you can take
really?
anything off. You can put anything that you want to push up front. Like, I mean, money really controls everything when it comes to campaigning, when it comes to advertising, all of that.
So, what do you think can be done to mitigate that and help prevent corporate interests or the interests of the 1% who are massively wealthy from exerting undue and overbearing influence on politics?
Can we have like a fact checker that like scrapes sites?
Have you seen shit? Nobody gives a fuck about facts anymore.
So we just gotta completely run on pathos, but then it's just gonna be all lies.
No,
right?
but I think we just need at least some like media regulation.
Accountability.
I guess. Yeah.
See that's
what I'm saying. Just a fact check, something that's like objective, like and just.
It's not going to solve the problems entirely, but one thing that I think would be a major step in the right direction is some type of more rigorous accountability for the elected officials, something more frequent or immediate than their term expiring and relying on the voters to elect them once again. There needs to be some way for the public to kind of like make their opinions of that person's actions while they're in the respective position known.
Do you mean something like as extreme as like being able to vote them out before their term's even up, or would that be like crazy?
But I think you are able to do that though. It's just like
are the voters able to do that?
I actually don't know the answer to that.
Can you sign like a petition and get enough signatures to get someone out?
But I don't think that would be too far.
I feel like we should figure that out before we...
You go door to door and just start getting, like, screw this guy, like, let's get him out if they fully switch sides.
Well, I know you can... The other politicians can, like, could do that.
Yeah,
I mean, you'll never get them to...
Yeah,
it's
so...
like a 2/3 or more.
I don't know if this exists currently, so I apologize if there's already something like this in place, but I would say if there's some way to get X percentage of the people in agreement that this person is not representing the interests of those who voted for them or their, collective area, if it's like a senator or something, they're not acting in accordance with what their state wishes. Or the same thing, even on a smaller scale, like a governor or something like that.
and the problem... Oh, sorry, you go.
Nah, I was just going to say, like, you hit maybe like 50% of whatever, but I don't know how you would get enough... like get the people to weigh in, right? Because obviously you would need some type of representative sample. There would have to be a number of people who are actually voting.
Do you allow for like every 12 months they just vote on like do you still support this guy? Is that too extreme? Because the problem is
that now is like we elect a president, and then to kick the president out you have to have a bunch of other people that you each individually have to vote for, and then whether they represent you or not at that point is...
There's too many moving parts, but the more you simplify, the closer you get to, like, potentially dictatorship, communism, along those lines.
Well, the people should have more say than, like, if, like, you elect a bunch of people to represent you, and then they're not representing your wishes, you shouldn't have to rely on a bunch of other people that you voted in to represent you.
So do you like the idea of like every 6 months, 12 months, whatever it is, like you can go somewhere to vote on whether you like what they're doing or not, and you can potentially vote them out? I think 50% is way too low. I mean, that could be abused like crazy.
Yeah.
But if it's something extreme like 75%, right?
Yeah.
That should be enough to be like, hey, like why is this guy still in office?
I just think that type of gun needs to be brought closer to the person instead of having to go through a bunch of like other people to vote for.
So let's get to like the idea of like how do we give more information to the public about what they're doing day to day.
People don't give a fuck about like stuff though. Like
I think more people would care than you think.
What if you made it really
a lot of people wouldn't pay any attention.
Make it super simple. Just have an app or a site that just shows like they did this today. They voted on this. They voted this way.
Yeah,
they've said this in an interview. They're doing this, and just make it super simple. You can find where you're from, who your candidates are, not candidates, who your senators, congresswomen, men
representatives
are. Representatives, good better word. And you just show what each of them are doing. You can click on them.
Yeah.
Super simple.
I think
could be abused by the media potentially, but the media is already kind of.
I think that information's probably already out there, but I think what you're proposing would be like a great benefit because it's in one consolidated location, probably good ease of use compared to having to browse the internet and scour who knows what to figure out who voted on what. I think that would be a good addition to what you're suggesting too. Some type of like another display almost, if you will, another utility which has the bills and whatnot that have been passed, a brief synopsis.
Who brought them to the vote?
Yeah, and then like what's going into effect, and then like the votes.
And then you could keep going down the line, clicking on each individual thing that's being voted on.
Like
what do we think about also
like links in Wikipedia just keeps drilling down?
What do we think about limiting how much or how many things can be on a bill? More.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more.
You'd have to vote on that, I'd assume.
I mean, that's the problem with like a bills is that the reason why there's all those like secondary stuff in there is not because people who are writing the bill are trying to get in, and a lot of the time it's because they're trying to get the people on the other side who would shoot down that bill to also vote on the bill because you're giving them something that they want to.
Which is cool because it does kind of force them to work together. It's just like super abused right now, from what I understand. It's not.
Yeah.
Well, I
Let's
also
sneak this on the bottom. And some
everybody's
bullshit.
trying to get their little
Complete
shit thing in
nonsense
there.
involved.
What you could say is them trying to represent like their people by trying to give some stuff. But
That is, I guess that is one way you can fully represent your peoples.
But the thing is, the problem is they're not. There's no real accountability for that
So I
stuff.
think that the education's not there. I don't think anyone knows what's going on truly. And I'll even admit, current event wise, I mean, it's hard to watch sometimes. It hurts me. I try to avoid social media and all that because it just makes me miserable and depressed, and it looks like a utopia or dystopia. Not utopia, obviously. Dystopia.
It's horrible, sucks ass.
But I'm not incredibly educated about our government or current events. I'm more so here to just, I'm open to talk, ask questions, but I think the general public is also not educated, a lot of them, about, and I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing.
That's how it is.
Ignorance can be bliss. Ignorance can be very, very not good.
Yeah.
Been cowed.
But making it easier for the attention spans that exist nowadays to just, okay, let's see what my senator's doing today. All right, he brought this bill. It's great.
TikTok for
yeah, everything short form. Yeah, it's
I'll
start working on it tomorrow. Yeah,
that AOC.
You could use like site scrape and just like scrape everything off the internet that they're doing, videos, comments, interviews, whatever, and then all their bills, what the bills are doing.
Yeah, I like that idea that you mentioned for hard cap on like the number of items allowed to be on a bill. I think that would do a great job of making things more distilled, I guess you could say. I follow what you're saying, Liam, about the reason they do it is to make both sides happy and whatnot, and it allows for items from both sides to get advanced together. But I still think that can be achieved with a cap on the number of items. Like,
there's no limit to how many bills they can vote on, right?
Nah,
so
I think it should be separate. Like, because as it is, if they're writing these 1,000-page things and whatnot, people, depending on the timing that they have to vote on it, who knows if you're. How could you possibly read 1,000 pages in like a lot of these span? A lot of these people are just like
they don't know what they're voting.
Yeah, exactly. That's fucked up. That should not be the case.
It's like, I passed that? Oh, cool.
Yeah, so if there's...
Cool. If more money, please. Thank you.
If we limit the number of items, then I think that gets reduced, that problem, and you still might have the lazy...
Is that feasible? Will they ever actually vote on something that does that?
It doesn't necessarily... So
will they ever vote on anything good? Will they ever figure it out?
Not for you, but...
What even would figuring it out look like, I guess?
That's what we're trying to figure out.
We should start discussing like campaign ads and like what goes on with those and money from corporations and this and that.
Something that I was thinking about in regard to that is just a overall overarching ban. Yeah, exactly, on political advertisements. Just no one is allowed to.
You get debates and that's about it. Or
I would say there should be other things in addition to debates, almost like.
Really?
Interview style thing.
But like so everybody gets the same amount of time.
Yeah, same like the equal fair use or whatever.
So you can't just like drown out another
just keep doing interviews, 10 interviews a day.
And I think it should actually be enforced as well. If we were to implement something like that, it should be enforced that you do like X number of objectively difficult or whatever, not like puff piece interviews. There has to be someone who's actually challenging.
It should be of course. Should be one entity. It doesn't have to be one interviewer. It could be
a panel.
You do like what are those like tests you did when you were like in high school, whatever, the kneecaps or something. And you have to they get 30 minutes to write their thoughts on a given topic, and then they have to read it aloud.
That's a good idea too, dude. That's cool because
I want to hear exactly what thoughts. I want them on camera writing it, so there's
no one in your ear telling you what to say. I mean, they already practiced that stuff beforehand, but
I like that idea though. It's kind of
no idea what the question.
It doesn't force honesty, but I feel like it's a step in that direction.
Well,
just like going with the lie detector test.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, those things suck.
Those things don't even work. Yeah.
But I want to hear what they have to say without having to go through any filters. I want to know who they are. And I want to know who each of them are, so I don't, one doesn't get judged by the other.
Yeah, I think that if we were to get rid of the advertising for politics in general, it would be really great because, as you were mentioning, you want to hear it from that person themselves. Versus with these ads and whatnot, it's just
They take
some
little
slogan that who knows what, you know what I mean? It's
they
not
take-
really representative of
Do
anything.
they still
take some
take in
snippet.
funds at this point? Like, do they need less funds? Do they need any
You can
funds?
even give them the maximum
You
of
need
funds
some
that they can
money,
use
yeah.
on their campaign. Everybody gets $600K. Run your campaign.
Yeah, that's something I was
What
thinking
do you
about
guys-
too. Is a cap on
a cap and a floor too, so like people who are grassroots. But then you gotta got a regular where it's not just somebody making.
Do you allow
$600
donations, like
running
corporate
off of it,
donations
but-
at this point?
yeah.
I guess you kind of. They're gonna do it either way.
Yeah, I agree with that idea about a cap, and I think it should be reflexive too. Not reflexive. What's the right word? Dynamic.
Dynamic.
Dynamic, depending
Versus
on
how-
the scale of the office that you're going for. Like,
That's fair.
if you're going for the president, obviously the cap should be a little higher than if you're going for like the mayor or
Mayor,
something
yeah.
like that. So yeah, I really like that idea, and I think it ensures very similar to what we were just talking about, like with the commercials and eliminating
how do
that.
you- how
It's
do you-
just another measure to ensure that everyone is working on equal footing. They all have the same
What-
resources at their disposal.
How do
They
you-
all have the same obligations in terms of the appearances and interview, whatever you want to call it, that they have to do. Everyone has the same resources and the same obligations. There's no gray area. It's a completely leveled playing field.
We could do like quicker elections, like not quicker elections. I mean, the election cycle should be like less than right now. It's crazy where you have to go a whole year of campaigning and stuff. That sucks ass. But I think like terms should be very short. There should always be like a new sect of people that are electing in to do stuff.
So I don't necessarily agree with that because I feel like it's difficult sometimes to get things done if you're like in and out so quick. You know what I mean? You
That's
can't
fair.
really advance.
Establish relationships.
Even
with
even
other
yeah,
senators
even
and
if
congressmen.
like
Well, there can be set like
Especially-
times during your term that everybody has to vote on something. You know,
yeah,
so there's new people
Like
coming
a,
up to vote every time.
you know what I let me try and see if I can understand what
Like
I think you're
force
saying.
people
Should we
to
limit
So-
terms too?
Something like-
force people to like make decisions. You know, there's like
Yeah,
Congress is
I
so
think-
slow, nothing gets done. Let's force people to make decisions.
I think we could like integrate that with what we were talking about a little bit before of some type of percentage that you can vote someone out with, almost like a checkup, if you will, and
Yeah,
then
like-
if X number of
problem is-
people, it would probably have to be number rather than percentage.
So
For the
people
government
set a
to-
gun to their head.
For the government to adapt that, they would have to be the ones to vote on that. Would they ever want to vote something?
It's
like that?
highly unlikely.
Oh yeah, how do we get there? Is a completely
Yeah, it's highly
I mean,
unlikely.
Just-
But-
I
There's
can
other
think some
options
ways,
that
I
you
can
might have
think
to
some
take to get
ways.
there.
Yeah.
Like being out on a boat in the middle of the ocean.
What was I gonna say? I think one other thing that I think would be really major is to have a hard cap on age. Like you shouldn't
Yeah.
have like an 80-year-old person running for any office. That's way too old.
Too old.
I don't know what the number in my head. I want to say like 70 should be the cap.
Feels good.
What are your thoughts on like removing the party system that we have right now, if not completely eliminating parties?
I think
And
that
then-
would be very advantageous because it would, in my head, maybe not in reality, right, but it would drastically reduce the amount of volatility in the political landscape and atmosphere today. Because there's not this two sides back and forth rhetoric of, red and blue. It's
Can America handle this?
Well, yeah. Also, you just like eliminate the two parties. You just say these. You either gotta ban the parties, or everybody has to go start their own ones. And how do you become?
They're gonna
those
probably just end up
different
grouping
than-
together again, right?
Yeah.
Based
How
on
would those like? I mean,
belief.
the
How do they
enforcement of it would
restructure?
be the enforcement and creation of that type of political.
because technically we do have other
Ecosystem is
parties.
hard
There's like
to
a
fathom.
green party and shit in the United States, but nobody gets.
Do they have any elected
technically-
members?
Anybody can technically start their own party. You just
Yeah,
wanna
so
Should
are
just
you guys
be all
familiar
independents.
with Ross Perot? Have you ever heard about that guy?
It sounds vaguely familiar.
I forget which election it was, but there was one, I want to say it was in the 90s, where he ran as an independent. He was like a self-made billionaire like back then. And he would do kind of what we're talking about, where he would buy out time slots on TV. I'm not talking about a commercial. I'm talking about like, maybe a 30-minute section on a prominent news station and just have like, I think a whiteboard, and would be espousing his ideals and what it would be that he would do if he were to get in office. and he was a total outsider. He actually got, I want to say, like, I don't know if he reached double-digit percentage of the votes or not. I wanted to say 7, but that would be a total guess.
This is what, Senate race?
No, president.
What?
Yeah, dude, he financed.
How long ago was this?
I want to say the 90s, but I'm not 100. I wish I knew offhand which
What happened to him?
election it was.
Go?
I mean, he affected the election in the sense that he divided the vote, which is all that a true third candidate does right now, which is harmful in its own right.
But why is it
You hear what I'm saying? So,
yeah.
what'd you say?
Why is it harmful?
I feel like it's harmful because
You're saying you think?
I actually don't know. That's what I was gonna say.
But like, you gotta
then,
start somewhere, dude.
Yeah, that's what I was just gonna say. I don't even know. Maybe I've just, for some reason, like.
Well, you get the yaps in the air.
Like it takes away from the other parties.
Yeah.
It's like
you're
that's
talking
about
that's what I'm
it.
trying to. Yeah.
It's like that's just propaganda, dude.
Yeah, bro.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Vote for this guy is actually vote for the other side.
I don't think something like that would be as effective nowadays because with media, people aren't really watching cable.
Yeah, I mean, it was just one.
It's so oversaturated now. There's so much media, and people are turning to so many different places that it's like, how do you get your face everywhere?
Dude, you could like this. People just never like see anything. Everything's offline.
The media is completely controlled by certain figures. And
yeah, dude, it is tough because.
Well, that's also another thing about limiting political advertisements. Isn't that like trampling on people's like freedom of association speech?
Yes, I would.
But do we really have to give a fuck about that?
Yeah, I mean I feel like
I guess maybe you should.
It just depends though, because it's like we were reading about a little bit in about the fucking Citizens United thing, what the guy was saying.
Mr. Stevens.
Yeah, that wouldn't be like an individual's free speech, right? Unless it was an individual creating the advertisement themselves. Like what we were talking about before was like some type of external entity, right? Some group. But under Citizens United, obviously we know now that corporations are treated as individuals. But what Stevens was suggesting, which I agree with, is that the Bill of Rights is meant to be applied to individuals, and that a corporation should and could not be an individual. So if that were to be, like applied to the groups that are making these political advertisements, obviously that decision would have to be reversed. But you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Technically, it wouldn't infringe upon the Bill of Rights and the First Amendment if corporations weren't treated as individuals. So having said that, though, an individual could, under freedom of speech, they could make their own ad. Like some independently wealthy person, I guess, could put a montage together and be like, "Here's my commercial."
I was just gonna say, like, what about social media? Do you limit them, or can they post every day on social media? And it's basically just ads at that point. Well, I mean, it's not reaching everybody, but
you also can be transparent about it, so you know exactly who the ad is coming from. You know the guy's name. It's not just some amorphous fucking like a blob of like a super PAC.
What's stopping corporations from just secretly funding them and then posting those social media videos anyway?
The main thing that we were talking about before with the representatives and whatnot, it would have to be accountability. There would have to be some type of transparency and accountability preventing that situation from happening.
Accountability,
some type of legal consequence.
Accountability with corporations and the government.
Yeah, I know. It's
totally transparent.
A couple of naive idealists over here.
Just keep coming back to like one idea of like how to like fix things.
We have a camera on them at all times, and we know where they are. And the retribution for doing stuff that doesn't support your constituents is something you would not want to happen to you.
Yeah, I don't know. Obviously, it would be tough to really enact the things that we're talking about, but regardless, I think a lot of what we suggested would make a big difference. Specifically, some of the stuff about really evening the playing field for all the candidates so that everyone's working with the same resources, adding transparency to all the various stages.
Too.
Yeah, exactly.
I should know about all 13 candidates, but then you'd have to limit the amount of candidates. I guess you could do like preliminary stuff where each county puts a guy up from their community.
Oh, dude, I love that idea.
And then those guys all go on another round of it, and then another round to your final 6 people
For the whole state?
for the whole country eventually.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. For the whole country, you could get the president that way.
Yeah.
That's about as grassroots as it gets.
Like, you have to make
It would be
grassroots.
difficult and time consuming, of course.
Just
but
do
I
like
think
a
it would be
fucking
worth
bracket.
it.
You could have American Ninja Warrior moments for where they have to jump through like mud.
Yo, that's an interesting point too.
I want my president to be able to jump through mud.
I want them to play like a 9 innings of a baseball game and
Should there be
against
some,
like Chris Sale or something.
no, against each other. Just
Oh yeah.
Should there be some type of fitness evaluation, whether that be mental fitness, physical fitness, to ensure that,
spelling bee.
because something else that I think is kind of important to think about
Jeopardy.
does actually like that type of
No, I want it to be competition.
Government policy Jeopardy. Just keep rolling on with questions.
Chess games.
that's
maybe?
funny, but that's not a bad idea, bro. Like Jeopardy
Make it
categories.
fun. We're
some-
just going more and more dystopian at this point.
No, but that's, I mean,
But dude, people would
I
watch
mean,
that
it's
shit.
like sci-fi
it's already
book
a
after
fucking,
book.
it's already
shit.
a fucking game show. Why not like throw that
Yeah,
out
bro.
like the pretense out the window?
You know,
Let's
like
make
where-
it a game show.
Where they have
Yeah.
like
That's how you
platforms, you hit a button, you fall to the sharks.
Do you
want-
fall into the water?
Do you want to become president? Go through like this giant fucking 12-stage death games or whatever,
Yo.
and then we'll get the most worthy candidates, and it's all televised, and everybody is still voting them along the way.
You Survivor,
feed
bro.
the
Dude,
losers to the
Survivor.
alligators.
The Survivor.
You
First-
you get
accept
little
the
you
public
get little
votes people out.
like tokenized ways of from your community. Say my vote is going from this community, so you can see a direct line of each vote through each of the different things. So let's say
Real certification.
your
of-
community you first round you vote in your community only. Second round your guy gets eliminated. You can vote for anybody else in the next one. But the people who
So it's like American Idol style, It's
well the people,
America's next top president.
so yeah, and each round you kind of vote on different people.
I like that.
Yeah, they each get the same. It'd take like a year or two, maybe, but who cares? It already takes so long with all the advertising.
in
Should we start
instance-
grooming them? Like,
In that instance, I would advocate for a longer term for the person who gets in office, because first of all, it took so long, and second of all, should be
I mean,
more
people are-
representative.
I
So
mean,
I would argue that
people
their
can't-
term should be longer.
I don't know. People start
you were to
campaigning
go
when
that
they
way.
already become president. You become president, you start campaigning for the next time you're in office,
True.
or it starts immediately. I feel like 4 is enough to get some shit done, right?
You would hope, but it never seems to be that way.
Or 8, I don't know.
unfortunately.
Or I don't know, but interesting idea.
Yeah. So
should we?
what were you
I was
gonna say?
gonna say, should we shift more towards like fiscal, socioeconomic policy when it comes to like our
Yeah.
envisionment of
Yeah. So
So we got the game show elections.
I feel like we've talked a little bit about like a mix of capitalism and socialism. I feel like that's a pretty popular idea.
yeah.
Yeah, but like I mean,
Taking the
what are
good
we
parts of
looking at?
each, basically.
Yeah, so
I'm not
what-
saying take everyone's money and just divide it evenly, right?
What
No, yeah.
and what are the good
what
parts,
I,
right?
What I think about it in terms of like socialistic aspects is more so of corporate citizen protection from predatory corporate action. So things like monopolies that, somebody could argue that it's not a monopoly, but it you know what I mean? It's not like there's no other competitors for some of these things, but despite the fact that they exist, they're essentially obsolete. They're not relevant at all in comparison to whatever the monopoly alternative is, right? I'm sure you can think of plenty of examples.
Well, I mean, this is kind of like a sort of similar idea, but you also get you get the problems where, you have monopolies, and then it's kind of assumed that monopolies will be regulated by the people because you're able to move and buy somewhere else, but that's not really the case. you know?
When the supply is
you-
only from one source,
Well-
what choice do you have if you want or need that item?
And if they don't even have to be a monopoly in the entire country, they can be like a monopoly in a local area, and then that's where everybody works. They control the wages for that specific area, keep everybody down. I think the word for that is monoptomy. They keep
Interesting.
yeah,
It's surgical.
yeah.
Yeah.
But they you almost create their own
Monopoly
little
lobotomy?
like wage controlment things, and that's what keeps everybody from like you kind of give them their means of sustenance. They live in their little company town.
Yeah. I don't know how that, like, for me, I could see enforcement on a large scale, but it's hard for me to envision it. It would have to be like, extreme awareness, I guess you could say, to know when and where like those types of things are happening and intervene, because on like a national level it's more obvious, and there are existing laws to prevent against monopolies, but I don't think they're being used correctly, because I don't know. I think it needs to be expanded a little bit, the way that it works.
What would you have the government control, I guess, to disrupt companies like this?
So, that's a good question. I guess. It's hard to say, because
would you do it from like the top down, where you like there's certain metrics that if a company meets this, it's considered like something that needs to be broken up with, or they need to be whatever, or you can do it from the other side, where it's like we restrict companies from doing this to people at a lower level, so that it's not as problem.
The one thing I would say which makes it difficult is that something could become a monopoly because of consumer preferences. So in that case, I don't know how you would limit or restrict it, because if your product or service that you're offering is truly in a class of its own. What'd you say?
Government owned. Anything that's like a non-negotiable, like this is going to be consumed
by water and stuff is kind of a monopoly that's like that.
Yeah. One of the really dangerous monopolies that I see is a media monopoly, and without getting into the specifics of the various situations that are currently going on, it's very dangerous if one group, family, whatever, controls the dissemination of information to the public. So that's something that I think, once again, it doesn't classify as a monopoly because there are alternatives. But when one group has such domination, it is more or less a monopoly. Wouldn't you guys say?
Sure.
So that is when I think the challenge becomes how and when to intervene, because it technically, even the existing laws for monopoly prevention don't seem to be used or working properly because of some of the examples that we see today. But how it would be very difficult to determine, because there are alternatives, so it isn't a true monopoly, like when to intervene.
Viewership
right?
numbers, just study like how much.
In general though, like media is a great example.
Exposure each of these each are getting, how much attention, like, and just really setting a hard limit on like, you have 70% of the country's eyes on you every day, like that's probably too much.
But isn't that like people's choice to like watch those people?
Yeah. So what I would propose is kind of like preventing continuous acquisitions. Even if you have this mass sum of wealth and you're able to buy up one, and this doesn't have to just be media either, it could be whatever. If you're able to buy up your competitors to consolidate whatever it is, like I think that should be prevented if possible. I mean, I guess what I'm talking about, I forget, there's horizontal integration and vertical integration. I forget which one's which, but the one thing I would say that like does make sense to me, it would be something like purchasing the means of production for whatever the item is, because that, you have control over the procurement, creation, all that type of stuff. But I don't think it should be allowed to go out and purchase competitors and consolidate all of your opposition into your own corporation. I think that is really monopolistic.
So what happens if like a company's gone under and wants to sell? They can't sell?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying like
it's like kind of, you're saying it's like it's kind of anti Jesus Christ, I'm just wasting on words, my bad. It's like anti-competitive behavior by companies.
Yeah, more or less. I think,
and that's always worse for the consumer because it creates like one price setter.
Yeah.
Or one viewership module.
Can you set? Do you think it would be reasonable to set limits on like profit margins for companies? Yeah. Like, hey, you can't just because you like have this monopoly, you can't just like charge whatever the hell you want for this.
I mean,
this is what you guys expend to make your product,
and then you get taxed
all included.
Some type of price locking or whatever.
Like you can't charge 1,000%.
Well, you can't. Well, if let's say they're locked at $10, whatever, for whatever the product is. If they still have the most amount of people buying one thing, then you're not really changing much. That company's still gonna have all the money. So you probably have to ban or take money past a certain point. You have to set hard limits on profits rather than a way of getting profits.
So I think the price enforcement thing would be a good idea in that scenario, because it prevents against like gouging, right? Like if you have the only viable option, like a de facto monopoly, but not necessarily because, but strictly because you have the best product, right? Consumer demand has dictated you becoming a monopoly. At that point, you could really set any price point you want. So that I agree. There should be some type of price setting intervention in that type of a scenario to ensure that people don't just get ripped the fuck off.
How do we ensure corporate accountability and honesty though when it comes to like what they're spending on their product? Like let's say that I build like a software company or whatever, and I spend all this time developing whatever I'm developing, and I want to include that in the cost of my product, indefinitely or for the first 10 years or whatever it is. Can you include that? Can you include wages? Can you include this and that? How do you determine an accurate price that they're spending to create their product, and then use that to determine a limit on how much they can charge for it?
I mean, I would say you'd first, of course, have to look at raw materials and whatnot. If it obviously like a website or something like that, an app, it might not apply quite as much to like a manufactured good. But regardless, cost of materials would be something I think. Of course, the amount of time to creation, it would have to be. There wouldn't be able to be, I don't think, some generic way of assigning it. It would have to be, meetings between the corporate officials and the government officials to,
Determine a fair price.
Yeah, figure out what makes sense. And there also should be transparency, similar to what you were talking about.
How can you do that for every product?
You couldn't do it for everyone, but what I'm thinking is more so of like the ones where the market demands or market preferences, whatever you want to call it, have created a monopoly, and then by default that company could just jack the price. Like that's not. I feel like that's not a super common situation, but it certainly happens. So you know what I mean. Then you could step in, but not every product. You get what I'm saying?
I mean, how would you do it for something like Amazon, right?
Yeah, I know.
Everybody uses Amazon.
That's one of the things that I was thinking of. So, what I would say in that situation is, like, some type of, I guess, cap on, like, I don't even know, like, a cap on what you could charge for your deliveries, because imagine they just randomly said, you know what, since everyone uses Amazon, we can do this, so fuck you. Every delivery forever for anyone just now costs $100 more. Obviously people would probably start finding alternatives.
That's what people do.
Yeah, like Walmart and a couple others that are.
Go buy something else.
Yeah. But in another situation where like, I don't know, that's interesting because then you wouldn't really need the enforcement regardless. But say it was something like, instead of $100, $20, but they're still offering the best service by a wide margin.
Well, the whole thing, I guess, this still matters like about setting a price for it. Like how much money they can charge beyond what went into making it.
Yeah.
You'd probably have to set a limit that you can't do that, or we take everything else that you get off of it. It probably makes more sense to just like come up with a way of determining the price of a good, and with a hard fast rule that you can apply for almost any good. So people aren't just like, this cost me this much to make. I can get away with charging the consumer this much, and so they stop being able to buy it.
Yeah, and I think that would also help a lot with like things like inflation and just rising costs in general. Like a great example, I think, I don't really even know how you would do this, but like is gas, because of the situation with Iran and whatnot. Like we don't even get most of our gas from the Middle East already. So why did the gas prices just get so fucked?
Oh, because they realized that they could.
Exactly. That's the type of stuff that I think there should be some way for the government to intervene.
Well, like these gas companies aren't purely operating in the U.S., but I guess if they want, that's so tricky. They have all the power, dude.
I know, that's what I'm saying, because that's a great example. Even better than Amazon,
powerful than our
where
government.
you really, I mean, unless you have an electric car, you have no choice except to buy gas if you want to use a fucking car. So it's one of those things, like that's an instance where I think the government should intervene.
No, we're not going to do this.
Something like a big data center coming in. near your town, and then the electricity prices go up.
I think that's really fucked up. Is that I see that being really problematic, and I think that's where people are going to start to actually show their anger rather than just talking about it when
What's
it starts
going
to
on
hit their
with
paycheck.
the Utah data center that O'Leary's trying to put in? Is that going through? Or are they fighting? They're fighting it, I assume.
I believe so. I mean, it's supposed to be super massive, and he makes all these arguments about it and why it's so great and whatnot. But I think that kind of stuff is really horrible. You know, like no matter where you put it, you're just kind of like it's not even necessarily about what else could be used in that space, but why not just have like some open space, have some just nature type stuff? Why we got to put a massive data center everywhere we have the opportunity?
Are these
simply
things
because-
necessary, do you think? Like,
For
I don't-
the computing that the AI companies.
I mean, we're
want.
just slowly turning ourselves to robots right now.
Yeah,
Eventually,
so-
the human race will be gone. And
This is another thing where I think like some government intervention wouldn't be a bad idea, except of course it's going the opposite direction with massive support. So like I feel like there has to be some utility in government to objectively look at like the direction certain industries are moving in and protect its citizenry, right? Like when you look at something like AI, everyone wants to go on and on and on about this and that, but like in a lot of ways I feel like it's hurting people in terms of
Their brain.
various different things, like
It's
so many different
critical
things
thinking
about
skills,
that's what I was
the
just gonna
brain
say.
forming opinions,
It's just
not
like-
cheating on homework.
It's completely unfettered and waiting.
You're turning to robots.
For it to be like either like a catastrophic failure and everybody like becomes like little like cells in a matrix or whatever, or somehow like it becomes
Metaphorically,
the like benefit to all of society and AI takes us to the future or whatever, but like. It's kind of like the government's just like waiting for something to happen instead of like seeing the active damage that it's doing or like trying to like somehow rein them in because they're just kind of unfettered right now.
Yeah, and this is sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think there can be responsible use of AI. Like I think individuals
It's-
can use it and
it's a good
take everything
technology.
with a grain of salt and utilize it for like different efficiency purposes without it. Like it should not be wiping out jobs right now. Let's be real.
It shouldn't.
All of us, anyone who actually has used it fairly often or knows about AI knows that they're so freaking dumb right now. Like
And also,
so stupid.
Why is it such a good thing?
So stupid.
Why are these companies so happy about being able to eliminate jobs? Like that sucks.
They're spending more money on the AI than they're spending
Because,
on those
bro, then
employees.
they'll-
Too.
then
It's hilarious. Like they don't
It'll help
realize.
their bottom line when they
They think it will, but it'll never be able to do most of these jobs. And they don't
Yeah,
Well,
no,
realize.
I agree.
let's say it can, and it does eliminate jobs. That's not a fucking good thing. That's a horrific thing that we're just letting them do.
That's
It's
what I
protecting
mean.
you, at
That's what I
least.
mean, and I think this is where like getting back to what we were talking about a little before about accountability for politicians and whatnot. I think this is like a great kind of like example of why that's necessary because in a lot of these states, people are very much against the data centers, and how can you say you're representing the people if you're supporting them but your entire populace is against them? There needs to be some type of way to almost like overrule their decisions, even if you can't like immediately be like, all right, nah, this guy's out of here, right? You can't really do that.
What do you feel
This
it's
is-
a
I feel like there needs to be a
This
way.
is what the rich people decided they wanted to do. So now I guess we have to go along with it because what do we have to do?
Hopefully, this wasn't too bleak of a conversation because I think
We don't really get anywhere
Uh,
either.
all of us are more. Well,
We're
no,
just,
I
we're
think
just pet
We're just kind of like discussing.
mad.
We could do another one.
Let's try and
eventually
let's
go
try and I
through.
guess wrap up by condensing some of like the best principles that we think would be absolute requirements of this system of governance that we're proposing.
Standard income tax, flatline.
What flatline and income tax?
Like everyone pays the same rate.
Inescapable.
Inescapable
No, zero
income
potential for loopholes.
Zero. I mean,
That's yeah.
they'll still find them, dude. But
Well, this is in our idealized world, right?
hoarding wealth should be illegal to an
Of
extent.
course,
You should only
I agree.
there should be a limit on how much money you can have, not just liquid, but like projected wealth.
Assets and shit.
Yeah.
Owning all these properties while there's all these homeless people is ridiculous. I think people should have shelter. Everyone. I think there's enough housing. I forget the exact numbers, but there's enough housing for like. If you split everyone into 4-person households, there's enough housing in the country for everyone. Obviously, you can't really do that. There's going to be individuals living alone, but we could build more. We could just do this or that. But everyone should have shelter. Everyone should have access to some sort of food. No one should be starving. That's insane.
Yeah. For me, I would say some of the things that I believe would be integral to this system, I mean, mostly what I talked about today is a lot of the accountability type things. So in my version of this system, there would be hard caps on the spending allowed for a given campaign for everyone. There would also be a ban on political advertising, I guess you would call it, outside of, individual free speech. Overturn Citizens United and prevent against that corporate free speech. That would be major.
The game show. Game show. Presidential race.
Game show style debates.
Everybody starts the same level.
How much of the government system do we leave?
Millions of people are in
all the senators and Congress, people of Congress. Do we leave leave it like that, or do we shrink it?
I honestly think
downsize a little bit.
I think it's probably fine. It's like there's just certain things about the system. Like, yeah, the accountability is very much missing. But I really do think with the even playing field thing that I'm talking about, like, I think that would make a major difference right off the bat, because like right now you can see it's disclosed who's funding who, right? You can look at the super PACs. All right, this guy got $1 million from this group. I'm not going to support it now.
Who's in charge of that PAC and what
yeah, but you might more or less be able to determine what their interests are.
Sure.
And so while that information is available, like what we've been talking about, the more exposure that you get largely has to do with the amount of money behind you. So if those two things were enforced by default, a cap on the financial and a ban on political ads coinciding with more public appearances through things like interviews and debates leading up to the election, so that you can actually hear their policies advanced by the candidate themselves rather than some tagline slogan with inflammatory imagery. I think I know I said a lot right there, but I think that would make a big difference right off the bat.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's kind of like what else. I think the ability of the citizens, the public, to overturn decisions that are made that they don't agree with. I don't know what the numbers would be that you would have to achieve for that to be done, right? Obviously, it couldn't be a small percentage. It would have to be quite large. And I don't know how you would facilitate getting the people to vote and say, nah, overturn that, like, blah, blah, blah. So in terms of implementation, I'm not sure, but I think
it's illegal to not vote.
There are countries that have done that. I'm
Compulsory.
not gonna lie, I don't dislike that idea. I think another thing that we didn't talk about, but it would make a huge difference, is some better accountability again and enforcement of like what's going on with the voting. That shit has to be locked the fuck down. You can't be having like these mystery ballots, and all this weird stuff going on every fucking time. It seems like there's some weird shit going on. So in my system, it's going to be cut and dry what you have to do to vote. There's, and that's it. No exceptions.
How would that look?
Dude, it's really
technology. How can you make an app secure?
I would say it would have to be paper.
Paper, but then you have to count all that shit.
Dude, I feel like it's so hard to say.
You already write it on paper, then it goes.
How about we don't announce the winner? How about we don't announce the winner the next day? Does that that just seems wrong? Like,
how long would you wait?
2 weeks, month, till it's right, until you really figure it out, dude.
I'm not gonna lie. I feel like that level of suspense would drive people fucking insane.
But also,
the results would still slowly come in.
It's not like they become president as soon as they get elected. You have to wait like 2 months anyway.
It's not that I disagree with you. I just think it's one of those things where people become so accustomed to like
3 days, 5 days.
That is a big piece of information, and they're accustomed to getting it like that night even.
No, I
agree.
Get over it.
I just see that being.
If you want to do a paper, that's the only feasible way to do it.
I agree, and it would take a long time. You're right, but I think that would. The only thing like that is kind of a challenge that I foresee in that situation is people who weren't able to leave their house. Like you would have to allow for some type of mail-in situation, because ideally I would say you have to do it in person.
Well, also the majority, like a good portion of the mail-in ballots are from like military.
Yeah,
abroad,
that too.
And, you know, you have citizens abroad. Sometimes you can't do it in person.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a lot of reasons for INC to have like mail-in ballot. You just have to make it like
Secure.
extremely certified. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I think we've discussed a lot of.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I think we.
I think we could definitely go further. Like eventually, like another time. Like
Yeah,
just
maybe
keep building on all the things discussed and our ideas and.
Maybe next time we can kind of listen to this back, do a brief summary in the introduction, and then, you know, build out the rest of our idea with an existing framework in place that we talked about today.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, thank you guys from the Bucket Gang for joining me and allowing me to join the Bucket Gang.
So stupid.
I appreciate your time, and I really enjoyed this conversation. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Nick.
let's go get some food.